This is Tamby here. Welcome to my channel. There is a video that is weighing on my heart right now that I need to do. So, this video was not planned in any way. I'm just winging it because I was called to make this video. So, this morning, I get a text from my mom. And I've always had this certain belief that I'm going to talk about now. But I was talking back and forth with my mom. She sent me a link to this YouTube channel she thought that I would like. But in reality, I was really disappointed in the YouTube channel. Like, I like the person. I like her energy. If some of the things were tweaked and reversed, I would have loved her channel to the fullest. But what hung me up was, I don't know what to call her right now because she's not really transitioning anymore. She was transgender. She was born a woman and was transitioning into a male, which I believe you're supposed to be who you want to be yourself, be who you love. Okay? So I will never ever be against transgenders. So, especially because I believe in energy, not really the body that we have. So, I was born in the Christian community. I have family members, though, that are Christian, Mormon, several types of Christian. Like, I have family who are Wiccan, witches. Like, I do not judge. So, here is my issue. There are people around the world who are believing. Okay, so I need to backtrack. So, the YouTuber, I'm not going to say her name because this is not the point of the video. Me describing is helping me describe what this video is going to be about. So this YouTuber, she's transgender, or was. I don't even know how to explain that properly, but she found Jesus and God. She's Christian, stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that. But when she started being accepted by a church, and they were accepting her for who she is, which is amazing, I don't know if she was just afraid that she was going to go to hell. I don't know if it's just because it said in the Bible that she had, because it's the English version, that if she was a lesbian or trans, that she's going to hell. So I don't know if she was afraid that she was going to go to hell or whatever, why she cut herself off and was like, I'm not going to do this because God doesn't want me to. I will be what I was born, the gender, and I will do what everyone else wants to make them happy. In another instance, my old church that I used to go to, and this made me really sad because this girl, she's married and she has kids, but she used to be a lesbian. And I say used to be because you can't really undo yourself like that. You can't be like, oh, well, I am a lesbian, or I used to be a lesbian, or I used to be gay, but I'm not anymore. Like, you can ignore that side of yourself as long as you want to, but the only thing it's doing is hurting you. And that makes me really sad. So this is why I'm making this video, because so many people out in the world are afraid that by them being LGBTQ, lesbian, bi, gay, transgender, stuff like that, and queer. So basically, people think that they're going to go to hell or God hates them, and they get bullied by other Christians, other Catholics, other Mormons, people who believe in God and Jesus, heaven, devils, demons, stuff like that. And they're afraid and they're tired of being bullied. So they do what other people want them to do. And that's just heartbreaking to me, that people cannot be themselves because of fear. And the Bible, there used to be a true, and I think there still is, but there used to be a, hold on. I believe that there used to be, or is still, the real gospel of Jesus and God, the real Bible. But over the centuries, the Bible has become corrupted. Things are being taken out of the Bible that should not be taken out. And it's sad. And God gave us free will. So he allows these people to corrupt the Bible and put things in and take things out that should not be taken out or put in. Like, it's a sin to be gay, that it's a abomination, it's this, it's that. I believe, and I've always believed, that that is hate. And that is just built up negative energy that is not okay to me. And I've always been a sensitive person. I've always been empathic, very energy sensitive. Never, even when I was younger, I never understood it. But now I do, because I'm putting pieces together and it makes more sense. So I've always known that there are parts of the Bible, before I even did my research, that just felt off. It didn't feel like it should be in there, that it wasn't right. And for some odd reason, I'm tearing up. That's the empath part of me. And so I got tired of people treating me like crap, treating other people like crap, hating on them. So I decided to do my research. And I found out that there are several scrolls, several missing things that were in the Bible but were removed and hidden. And scientists and archaeologists are finding them around the world, that they should be in the Bible. And one of these scrolls talks about manifestation, meditation, spirituality, which when you try to talk to spirituality to Christians, Catholics, all those other people, like crystals and meditation and our energy force, they immediately say that we are dealing with the devil. Like, immediately. Like, they don't want to believe anything else. When really, it was a part of the Bible that was taken out that shouldn't have been. And so this video is educational about the Bible and what is true and what is not. So there are things in the Bible that should be in the Bible that aren't. And basically it talks about, I think it's the Black Sea Scrolls, I think, don't get me wrong, but it's about like manifestation and meditation and your energy force field and stuff like that. So, but the things that were put in the Bible that I know of right now that should never have been put in the Bible is that it is a sin to love the same gender as yourself. And that is just not, that's not true. because it was added in the Bible. It was mistranslated. And I found an article on it with someone who did research. So I will read some of that right now. I'm sorry if it doesn't make sense because I read weird. And I don't really like the word homosexual. I think it's very like condescending and rude, but it says homosexual a lot in here, so I apologize. So this is from the United Methodist Insight, Discovering God and Will for the Future. And the like RL thing is um-insight.net. And it says, has homosexual always been in the Bible? And this is like a conversation article between this person who had researched this and stuff like that. So there are some big words that I cannot really pronounce, so I might have said them weird. If you want to go and look up this article, go ahead to make sure that I was saying things right. Because there are some really big words in there that are not English, as you may realize. So it says, the word arsenicote or cote shows up in 2 different verses in the Bible, but it was not translated to mean homosexual until 1946. We got to sit down with Ed Oxford at his home in Long Beach, California, and talked about this question. You have been part of the research team that is seeking to understand how the decision was made to put the word homosexual in the Bible. Is that true? So this person named Ed was like, yes, it is first showed up in the RSV translation. So before figuring out why they decided to use the word in the RSV translation, which is outlined in the upcoming book of Kathy Badlock, Forging a Sacred Weapon, how the Bible became anti-gay. I wanted to see how other cultures and translations treated the same verses when they were translated during the Reformation 500 years ago. So I started collecting old Bibles in French, German, Irish, Gaelic, Scandinavian, Polish, you name it. Now I've got most European major languages that I've collected over time anyway. I had a German friend come back to town. I asked if he could help me with some passages in one of my German Bibles from the 1800s. So we went to Leviticus 18:22. He's translating it for me word for word in English, where it says, man shall not lie with a man, for it is an abomination. The German version says, man shall not lay with young boys, as he does with a woman, for it is an abomination. I said, what? Are you sure? He says, yes. Then we went to Leviticus 20:13, the same thing. Young boys. So in the German version, it says young boys instead of what the English version says. So we went to 1 Corinthians to see how they translated the arsenote, original Greek word. So the word that I cannot say is Greek. Instead of homosexuals, it said boy molesters will not inherit the kingdom of God. And then I grabbed my facsimile copy of the Martin Luther original German translation from 1534. My friend is reading through it for me, and he says, Ed, this says the same thing. They use the word Knabechander. I don't even know how to say it. That's definitely a different word. And it means boy. Scander is molester. This word boy molesters, for the most part carried through the next several centuries. The German Bible translation of I think it's the German word, is also in 1 Timothy 1:10. So the interesting thing is, I asked if they ever changed the word arsenikodi, which is, I think, the Greek word, to homosexual in modern translation. So my friend found it and told me the first time homosexual appears in the German translation is in 1983. To me, that was a little suspect because of what was happening in the culture in 1970. Also because the Germans were the ones who created the word homosexual in 1862. They had all the history, research, and understanding to change it if they saw fit. However, they did not change it until 1983. If anyone was going to put the word homosexual in the Bible, the Germans should have been the first to do it. The word Nabaskander, which is very wrong, I'm sorry, which is I think, a German word. I know I've read it, meaning molester of boys. As I was talking with my friend, I said, I wonder why not until 1983. Was there influence from America? So we had our German connection look into it again. It turns out that the company Biblica, who owns the NIV version, paid for this in 1983. The German version. Thus, it was the Americans who paid for it. In 1983, the Germans didn't have enough of a Christian population to warrant the cost of a new Bible translation because it's not cheap. So an American company paid for it and influenced the decision, resulting in the word homosexual entering the German Bible for the first time in history. So I think there's a gay agenda after all. I also have a 1674 Swedish translation and an 1830 Norwegian translation of the Bible. I asked one of my friends who is attending Fuller Seminary and is fluent in both Swedish and Norwegian to look at these verses for me. So we met at a coffee shop in Pasadena with my old Bibles. She didn't really know why I was asking. Just like reading an old English Bible, it's not easy to read. The letters are a little bit funky and the spelling is a little bit different. So she's going through it carefully and then her face comes up. She goes, "Do you know what this says?" And I said, "No, that's why you're here." She said, "It says boy abusers, boy molesters." It turns out that the ancient world condoned and encouraged a system whereby young boys from 8 to 12 years old were coupled by older men. Ancient Greek documents shows us how even parents utilize this abusive system to help their sons advance in society. So for most of the history, most translations thought these verses were obviously reversed to the pederasty, not homosexuality. And I'm going to spell this word because it's very important that you know the difference. And I can't really pronounce it properly, so that's why I'm going to spell it. So pederasty or whatever, Pederasty. And so in these Bibles, the pedestry, the P word, and homosexuality get, when they try to transfer or translate those two words, they get mixed up in a lot of the translations in the Bible. And so a lot of people think now, because it's in the Bible, it's translated into that, people think that it's a sin to be gay, and it's not. It's a sin to molest children and hurt children in that way, to lay with a child. So when I started thinking that of 4 of the 6 clobber passages, all these nations and translations were referring to the pedestry, which is the word that I spelled out for you, and not what we would call homosexuality today. How did this translation team work? Well, they didn't operate out of a vacuum. When they translated something, used data available to them from very old libraries. Last week at the Huntington Library, I found a lexicon from 1483. I looked up the arsenicode, which I think is the Greek word, and it gave the Latin equivalent to pratico. If you look those up, they mean pedestry, which is that name I spelled out for you, or Knobsner, which is I think a German word that I still can't pronounce, which it's German for boy molester. In 1483 is the year Martin Luther was born. So when he was running for his life, translating the Bible and carrying his books, he would have used such lexicon. It was the lexicon of this time. This lexicon would have used information from previous 1,000 plus years, including data passed down from the Church of Fathers. So there is a historical tradition to show that these verses aren't related to homosexuality. Absolutely. Sometimes I'm frustrated when speaking with pastors who say, well, I believe the historical tradition surrounding these verses, which means that the pastors today believe that it's a sin to be homosexual. I hate that word. Then proceeded with the condemnation of LGBTQ individuals. I challenged him to see what was actually traditionally taught. For most of the history, most European Bibles taught that the tradition that these 4 verses were dealing with was pedestry, which is the word that I spelled out, not homosexuality. I am saddened when I see pastors and the Olologians cast aside the previous 2,000 years of history. This is why I collect very old Bibles, lexicons, and the ological books and commentaries. Most modern biblical commentaries adjusted to accommodate this mistranslation. It's time for the truth to come out. Yes, my brother, who is a pastor, also told me the same thing. That every sector of the church has seen same-sex relationships as sinful for 2,000 years. But the more I read and study, though, the more I just don't see this to being true. What was used before homosexuality showed up in the RSV version, King James Version, trumped the land, and they used the phrase abusers of themselves with mankind for arsenicode. If you asked people during the time, no one really wanted to tackle it. So that's why I'm collecting old Bibles and commentary and lexicons in order to show how the Olologians dealt with these passages. And I'm actually going to spell that word out too, only because I think it's very important that you know what is really being said. So the Olologians, I don't even know if that's a full word apparently. So it's THEOLOGIANS. Dealt with these passages. In your opinion, how would the church be different if the RSV didn't change arsenicode and malakoi to homosexual in 1946? In my opinion, if the RSV did not use the word homosexual in 1 Corinthians 6:9 instead would have spent years in proper research to understand homosexuality and to really dig into the historical contextualization, I think the translators would have ended up with more accurate translation of the abusive nature intended by this word. I think we would have avoided the horrible damage that was done from pupil pits all across America, ultimately other parts of the world. But don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. The RSV team did a great job on most everything else. It was the honest mistake. And do you think your life would have gone differently as a result? Yes, absolutely. I think my life would have been starkly different if translation would have been translated with accurate historical contextualization, especially within my own family, since they really rely so heavily on the English translation and put a lot of faith in the translators for the final product in English. Since most people haven't studied Greek or Hebrew, they have no concept of the challenging a translation and any potential errors that may have occurred during translation. Therefore, many people are unable to consider the implications of the text beyond English translation in front of them. Based on your research, what advice would you have for the LGBTQ Christians today? My advice to LGBTQ Christians today would be 3 things. As difficult as it may be, try to extend grace and patience to the church. The vast majority of the pastors in America have not done their due diligence on this topic, so we can't expect them to be any further along than they are currently. In the same way that God has extended grace and patience with us when we sin, we need to extend grace and patience towards others regarding their error on this topic. Bitterness will only manage to create further damage. Seek out other LGBTQ Christians who have already done their due diligence on this topic and reached a point of peace between their sexuality and God. We can learn a lot from others who are a little further up their trail. Often remind yourself that this is a mess. This mess is not caused by God, but instead is the result of people who have been entrusted with free will. So I know this is going to be a very long video, and I apologize, but I think this is so important to get across. I've had conversations with people about this, that there are things in the Bible that have been taken out and things that have been put into the Bible that should have never been taken out and put in the first place. And their response is, well, God would never let that happen. He is powerful enough to stop it. But here's the thing. The Bible also states that God and Jesus gave us free will to do whatever we want, even if it's really bad. So, free will, people can change the Bible and do things to it that they shouldn't. And he did not stop them because it was their free will. He gave free will. He's not going to stop something that he promised that he would give free will. And that just makes sense. Now, I'm a very open-minded person. I am not closed-minded. I do believe in Jesus and God, angels, demons. I believe in fairies, dragons. I believe in all that. And I have a little bit of a different belief than other Christians and Catholics and Mormons and stuff like that. But one thing that stays the same is my belief in Jesus and God. So I really hope that this will help someone in the long run, because I know, especially growing up, I felt targeted in a way that I was pushing away God because I was being judged. The church and the other people would, like, at first they would be really, really nice and really kind. But the minute they would find out that you're LGBTQ or something like that, their whole thing would change. And they would be like, that's a sin, you're gonna go to hell. Oh. And it pushed me away. And I didn't feel like I fit in. So the only way I could go to church and enjoy myself was to hide it, to hide my true self from the church. And I feel like no person should ever have to do that. They should be able to be themselves and be accepted and be loved. And that is the reason why I made this channel, not just this video, but this channel. My goal was to connect with people all over the globe and make sure that they know that they were loved and cared about, and that, you know, they can have a church, a congregation that could be together and loving, and not the way that the church, normal churches, spread. I wanted to have my own church, and I don't want to say mine because it wouldn't really be mine, but I just want other people to know that they are accepted and loved into my community, and that there's so many people out there like them, and that they're not alone, that they have wonderful people that could be by their side to support them and love them in their journey to find out their true self and to experiment in spirituality and much, much more. That it's not just what's in front of you or what is in your past, that you can complete anything that you set your mind to. So thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll see me for another video. Bye.